afternoon. Welcome in. Shout out to you for joining us for another edition of The Purpose Life. Listen, I'm excited, man. I'm always excited. I know I say that, and I feel like you guys may take that for granted when I say I'm excited. No, but I really mean it because I think it's just beautiful. Like the more you spend time in the Word, and the more you just begin to unfold and start to just really kind of get a better idea of who God is. I feel like every time I crack back the scriptures, it's just like more of an understanding of who the God that I serve is. So that's why I always say it. Not like I said, it's not a joke or just something I just say, leisurely, but I get so excited to kind of get in here and peel back these layers and get through this word with you. So welcome in to all of you who are joining us today for the Purpose Life. As always, I appreciate you guys checking out and joining for the session. Um, let's get to it, yo. Like let's legit get to it, right? So we've been working under the subheading of course, the Purpose Life, but my choice, God's answer, right? My choice, God's answer. And so for kicks and giggles, I was just kind of working on my message, and I just said, man, I'm going to Google search. Why is it important to have the right answer, right? Why is it important to have the right answer? And Google simply said this: having the right answer is crucial because it allows for informed decision making, it facilitates learning and progress, and avoids potentially harmful consequences. Incorrect answers can lead to errors, wasted resources, and even negative impacts on individuals or society. That was Google's, right? That was Google's answer for why it is important for us to have the correct answer, right? Now, surely we know through not just through the time that we spend here on Mondays, but through our own personal time that God's answer is always the correct answer, right? God's answer is always the right answer. It's the correct answer. Now, we can try to force our way in another direction. We can try to force our way to make another answer work, putting a square puzzle piece, trying to make it fit in a round peg. Like we can try that, but it's ultimately going to be wrong, right? I didn't even need Google to tell me that, but I just wanted to see what Google had to say about the right answer. So listen, let's get into it. I want to start with 1 Samuel 15. And I really want to, I don't have time to read the whole text that I want to, because it's 1 Samuel 15 verses 3 through 20. 1 Samuel 15 verses 3 through 20, but I'm going to give you some highlights of it, and kind of in your own time you can kind of read and work through what you want to work through. Okay, so 1 Samuel 15 verses 3 through 20. I'll start with verse 3. This is Saul, right? And Saul is receiving instructions from God. And he says, now go and completely destroy the entire Amalekite nation, men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys. Men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys, right? Very clear instruction. Very clear instruction. There's nothing you needed to think about. There's nothing you had to wonder. There's nothing you had to question. Very clear instruction, right? And so, okay, now Saul mobilizes his soldiers. He goes, boom, boom, boom. Now I'm going to skip down to verse 9. So Saul and his men spared Agag's life, and kept the best of the sheep, the best of the goats, the cattle, the fat calves, and the lambs, everything, in fact, that appealed to them. They destroyed only what was worthless or of poor quality. Now, what did we start with? What were the instructions? What was the correct answer? What was God's answer? To go and completely destroy the entire nation: men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys. But what happened? What Saul did was something that we often do. We feel like God needs our help in figuring out what the correct answer is. We feel like God needs our revision to what he already said the correct answer was. So I'll say it to you again. So the verse 9, Saul and his men spared Agag's life, and kept the best of the sheep and goats and cattle, the fat calves and the lambs, and everything, in fact, that appealed to them. They destroyed only what was worthless or of poor quality. That doesn't sound like the instructions, right? And it's crazy because we'll read this and be like, why didn't they just follow the instructions? But I'm telling you that as we read the text, it's so important for us to see ourselves in the text, right? Don't be judgmental and don't sit on a high horse like, oh man, I can't believe it. No, see yourself in it. When God gives us simple instructions and we try to find what we think, we select our answer choice, not the correct answer that God gave us. Not the correct answer that God gave us. Come on, think about it. All right. So then let's jump down. Let's jump down to verse 17. Do I want 17? All right, so we'll skip past Saul setting the monument to himself. So much in that we won't even get to that. So let's go to verse 13. So when Samuel finally found him, Saul greeted him cheerfully. May the Lord bless you, he said. I have carried out the Lord's command. My man Saul felt like I did exactly what the Lord asked me to do. My God, there's no way. But how often do we, in our own personal lives, we take a piece of what God said and we add to it what we want to do, and we feel like that's the correct answer, but it's not. But it's not. Verse 14. Then what is all this bleating of sheep and goats and the lowing of cattle that I hear? Samuel demanded. It's true that the army spared the best of the sheep, goats, and cattle, Saul admitted, but they are going to sacrifice them to the Lord your God. We have destroyed everything else. So do you see how far he's gotten off track from what God originally instructed him to do? He had a choice. He made a choice, rather. He made a choice, but his choice wasn't the correct answer. It wasn't God's answer. He kept trying to make it be okay, right? So, we're going to sacrifice. Like, I know that God told us to destroy everything. We're not going to destroy everything. We're going to keep what we feel is good. And then when we speak to seven, we're going to say, oh, no, we're going to sacrifice these things. That's not what God asked you to do. So I'm going to ask you today, you don't have to say it in the chat, just keep it to yourself. But how often are you missing the mark because you're not doing exactly what God said to do? You're doing part of it. You're doing a piece of what God said, but you're not doing exactly what God said to do. And you're not going to appease God by giving him part of what he asked for. You're not going to appease God in that manner. Then Samuel said to Saul, stop. Listen to what the Lord told me last night. So then he goes in to tell them, verse 17, and Samuel told him, although you may think little of yourself, are you not the leader of the tribes of Israel? The Lord has anointed you the king of Israel. And the Lord sent you on a mission and told you, go and completely destroy the sinners, the Amalekites, until they are dead. Those were the instructions. Samuel is looking at him saying, yo, why do you think what you did was the correct answer? It was not. It was wrong. That was your choice. I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, if we are going to lead purposed lives, we have to submit to God's answer, not our choices. God's answer. God gave us the freedom of choice in hopes that we would always choose him, in hopes that we would always show our love for him through our submission to him. Okay, let me read verse 22 through 23 for you, because this was so heavy for me. But Samuel replied, what is more pleasing to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? What is more important to God? He's after our obedience. Full. Yes, Elder Cunningham, not partial. He don't want partial obedience. He wants full obedience, full submission. What is more pleasing to the Lord? Your burnt offerings or sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Can I tell you why the burnt offerings and sacrifices were what I feel with my spiritual imagination were Saul's choice? That was the easy choice. That was the easy choice. See, we try to appease God with what we feel is the easy choice. The submission to God is sometimes going to be some of the hardest decisions we can make. Sure, God knew that they could benefit from the sheep and the goats and all. God knew that they could benefit, but he wanted them to remain submitted to him. Destroy all of it. I don't need your help. Destroy all of it. Show me that you are submitted to me. I'm asking you, ladies and gentlemen, in the face of something we feel like we desire, or in the face of something we feel like we need or that we want, will we remain submitted? Because what we need and what we want is going to be appealing to us. It's going to be appealing. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be appealing. But will you submit to God's answer? Verse 23. No, my bad. We'll start back. What is more pleasing to God, to the Lord, your burnt offerings and sacrifices, or your obedience to his voice? Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of rams. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So because you have rejected the command of the Lord, he has rejected you as his king. Let me go back. Listen, obedience is better than sacrifice, and submission is better than offering the fat of the rams. God wants your submission. It's not rocket science. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. God wants your submission. Say it. God wants my submission. Every day, God wants my submission. Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft. Do you understand the stakes of those words? Rebellion is as sinful as witchcraft, and stubbornness as bad as worshiping idols. So you don't worship idols, but you're stubborn. You don't do what God asked you to do. He says it's the same. He says it's the same. So you may as well go worship any other God. If you are going to remain stubborn, you may as well go put idols before God, because he's saying it breaks down as the same. So don't feel like you're so well because you worship God, but you don't know how to submit to God. Okay. Let's jump to 1 Samuel 16:13. All right. 1 Samuel 16:13. Because I need you to work with me. I'm about to draw a comparison. I need you to give me a little latitude. I'm about to draw a comparison for you. Okay. 1 Samuel 16:13. So now we know God sent Samuel on a mission, on assignment, to go and anoint one of Jesse's sons as the next king, which we know he's referring to David, right? All right. So we're going to pick up with that. Verse 13. So as soon as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the flask of olive oil he brought and anointed David with the oil. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. Then Samuel returned to Ramah. All right. Now, let's think about this. David just got anointed as the next king, right? So now let's think about, where would your mindset be if you just got anointed as the next king? Oh, you feeling yourself? Yeah. You up here. I'm the next king. What y'all like? That would be your mindset. Your choice. But let me show you how God chooses to prepare you for the assignment before it's time for you to walk into the assignment, right? Because let's jump down now to verse 14, 1 Samuel 16, verse 14. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting spirit that filled him with depression and fear. Some of Saul's servants told him, a tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. Let us go find a good musician to play the harp. Whenever the tormenting spirit troubles you, he will play soothing music, and you will soon be well again. Verse 17. All right, Saul said, find me someone who plays well and bring him here. One of the servants said to Saul, one of Jesse's sons from Bethlehem is a talented harp player. Not only that, he is a brave warrior, a man of war, and he has good judgment. He is also a fine-looking young man, and the Lord is with him. So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, send me your son David the shepherd. Jesse responded by sending David to Saul, along with a young goat, a donkey loaded with bread and wineskin full of wine. So David went to Saul and began serving him. Saul loved David very much, and David became his armor bearer. Then Saul sent word to Jesse asking, please let David remain in my service, for I am very pleased with him. And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better and the tormenting spirit will go away. So listen, David gets anointed as the next king and he's immediately called to serve. Right? Think about that. David gets anointed as king and then gets called to serve the current king. What would be your thought process? I have just been anointed as king. Why am I serving him? He needs to move out the way. Y'all just anointed me. What is he still doing here, right? That would be our choice, not God's answer. Not God's answer. Let me say this. I put this in my notes. David was anointed, but still remained submitted. He was anointed, but immediately called to serve. We often ask and we speak to increase. We speak for God to take us to the next level, but are we prepared to serve? Are we prepared to serve? David gets anointed and goes into service. He didn't get anointed and walk into kingship. He didn't get anointed and, all right, now I'm the king. Everybody, no. He was anointed and then called to serve. And the crazy part is, not even the crazy part, the beautiful part is, David served so well that Saul fell in love with his service. Do you understand the type of mentality you have to be anointed as king, but then to go and serve the current king, and you're serving the current king so well? You're not serving him in a way that says, hey, I'm just ready for you to move out the way. They already told me I'm next. They already told me it's my time. So I'm just waiting on you to move. I'm going to do what you need me to do. No, he didn't just do what he needed to do. He did it well. He did it to the best of his abilities. So much so that Saul had to write home to Jesse, David's father, and say, hey, can he please stay? I'm going to ask you right now. Are you serving in any capacity in your life where they desire for you? They are begging you to be there because your service is so well. Are you serving anywhere in your life to that level where they can see the favor of God on your life through your service? You say, oh man, I don't have a platform to show this, and I don't have the stage to do this. You don't need a stage, and you don't need a platform. You need to serve where God called you to serve. You need to serve where God called you to serve. I don't care if you are a maintenance man. They should be able to see the favor of God on your life every time you touch something in the building that you work in, if you are a servant. But that starts in the heart. That's a heart thing. That's a heart thing. But let me draw a comparison, right? Because we're looking at our choice versus God's answer. Because we all know how we would have moved in that situation. I know how I would have moved. You anointed me as the next king. I'm ready. Let's go. Wait, you need me to serve? Hold on. Make that make sense. The math ain't mathing. Why am I serving? You just anointed me as the king. If you weren't ready for me to be the king right now, you shouldn't have anointed me, because now I feel like it's my time. That would be our choice. But that's never God's answer. And that's all I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen. We got to start examining, am I serving me or am I serving God? You want so much, but are you serving? It's amazing to me, and no knock on anybody, but it's amazing to me when I host and I look at the number of people when I make the announcement. Sometimes the announcement will hit the information that I have about opportunities to serve in the ministry and different auxiliaries that are looking for people to serve. And when I mention it, I watch people's faces as they turn up like, not me. I'm just coming to church. I don't want to serve. How? How can we want to be more like God but not want to serve God? How can we want to walk in his favor in our lives but not want to serve him? Jesus' entire mission on this earth through text was service. How do we feel like we're better than him and we never want to serve in the church? That's another conversation for another day. I'm not going to get off track on that. I'm not. But I want you to understand this. God's answer will not always make sense to us, and maturity leads us to never question God, to never question his timing, and to never question his plan. I'm sure us in that same situation as David, we would have been questioning the plan. Why did I get anointed and I'm serving? Let me draw a comparison for you, okay? I want you to look at something for me. Let's jump to Luke 15, 11 through 21. Just work with me, please. Because I need you to see the difference between when it's your choice and when it's God's answer. David is serving God's answer, right? God's answer. I want you to look at, we're about to look at an example of when it's your choice. Luke 15, 11 through 21. Luke 15, 11 through 21. To illustrate the point further, Jesus told them this story. A man had two sons. The younger son told his father, I'm ready. I want my share of your estate now before you die. His choice. His choice. See, that's how we sound when we talk to God. We don't want to wait on God's timing. God, give it to me right now because I say that I'm ready. I say that it's time for me to be promoted. I say that it's time for me to be elevated. Why would you be offended if you got passed over? Don't be offended. That just means it's not your time. I'm not questioning it. God, I thank you. It's something that I still need to learn in this space. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't question God. God, I'm okay. It's not my time yet. I'm going to continue serving. I'm going to continue. I'm going to serve even. I'm going to continue serving. I'm not questioning God when you're operating on his answer. All right. So here we go. The younger son told his father, I want my share of your estate now before you die. So his father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. A few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. There he wasted all his money in wild living. See, let me tell you something. Our choice, our answer choice, often serves our natural desires. Yeah, your answer choices often serve what appeases this physical body that we know cannot transition with us into the next life. So if it cannot transition with us, it wants all its shine right now. And you yield to it hold on. Just hold on. Okay. Well, just hold on with me. All right, and moved to a distant land, and there he wasted all his money in wild living. About the time his money ran out, a great famine swept over the land, and he began to starve. He persuaded a local farmer to hire him, and the man sent him to the fields to feed the pigs. He is now working the lowest level you can work. He out there feeding the pigs. Can I tell you something? And I don't want to raise my voice, but I want to say it so that you can hear me clearly. Oftentimes we get upset with God for our current situations and circumstances, but it was our decision and our inability to submit to God that landed us in that situation. Does that mean God can't deliver you from the situation? No. But I'm not blaming God. I'm not faulting God. I'm not aggravated with God. I'm not mad at God. I'm not going to curse God and say, well, I'm going to stop going to church and I'm going to stop praying because this situation doesn't look like what I think it should look like. It doesn't look like that because you're making the decisions. You're not submitted. He got himself in that situation. He was living a good life. He made the decision. But check this out. The young man became so hungry that even the pods that he was feeding to the pigs looked good to him. Do you understand the level of starvation you have to be at? You don't need to add, that's a preposition. Do you understand the level of starvation that you have to exist in that you say, what I'm feeding these pigs is looking real tasty. It's looking like a 4th of July barbecue, what I'm feeding these pigs. What? Have you all ever seen what pigs eat? I need you to understand the mental state. The mental state that you have to be in to now say that looks appetizing. That is where we often get ourselves. The mental state that we subject ourselves, the things, the decisions that we subject ourselves to, it has an effect on the mental. Now we're not seeing clearly. Now we're not operating in the space because we are making decisions that serve us, not that serve God. So now you got to take the L's that come with that. Listen, that looked so good, but no one gave him anything. When he finally came to his senses, he said to himself, At home, even the hired servants have food enough to spare, and I'm here dying of hunger. He had to come to his senses. Guess what? Guess what I took that to mean? When he had to come to his senses, he had to come to a realization that my answer choice was not God's answer choice. Let me, and the beauty of that is God says every day, every time that you make a mistake, you have the opportunity to go back and get it right. See, God didn't throw you away because you chose you at that time or in that circumstance or in that situation. God didn't throw you away. God still says, I want you to come home. The entire parable is about the ability to make a mistake and come back home, and the Father welcomes you home. He doesn't blame you for your mistakes. He doesn't fault you because you were wrong. He doesn't throw you away. God, I thank you for not throwing us away. He doesn't throw you away. He says, come home. Come home. I welcome you. Even though you were disobedient, I welcome you. Even though you were living for self, I welcome you. Even though you thought that life was a good life, I welcome you home because now you see your choice was wrong. So he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. Filled with love and compassion, he ran to his son, embraced him, and kissed him. His son said to him, Father, I have sinned against both heaven and you. I am no longer worthy of being called your son. Let me tell you the beautiful thing about it. Every time we make mistakes, and the enemy will play on your mind like no other and make you feel like you are no longer God's child and make you feel like you cannot return home. This parable is what you need to stand on. God says, not only do I want you to come back, I welcome you back with love and compassion. I know you kept trying to choose your choice, not mine. You kept trying to choose your choice. And sometimes you got to go see the way that you are pushing is not the way you need to be. You got to go see it. You got to go see it sometimes. The old folks say the best lesson is a bought lesson. Sometimes you got to buy that lesson in order for you to be like, you know what? I've been tripping, but guess what? Once you buy that lesson, now you become the greatest servant there is. Now you understand, hey, I ain't got time to play around anymore. Hey, I can't keep making dumb decisions. I can't keep trying to choose what serves this physical body. I must remain submitted. God, what would you have me to do? If this isn't your will, I'm not doing it. If this isn't the relationship, I'm not doing it. If this isn't the job, I'm not doing it. If this isn't the car for me to buy, I'm not doing it. I don't care if people think I'm broke. I would rather you have whatever jaded opinion you have of me and remain submitted to God than have you think highly of me and me be out of the will of God for my life. That is a word for somebody. Listen, let me say this to you. He wanted his now. He didn't want to wait. He said now. See, his failure was that he was seeking to serve currently. I want what this body deems is great right now. Oftentimes, God prepares us for the long journey. So in the long journey, go back and look at David. David was anointed as king and went to serve. He was being prepared. He was being prepared. He was being prepared. Your choice looks good, but it's only a temporary fix. Your choice will always serve the flesh and the desires of the flesh. You don't believe me? Two more scriptures and I'm going to let y'all go. Let's jump to Matthew 6:22 through 24. Matthew 6:22 through 24. Your eye is like a lamp that provides light for your body. When your eye is healthy, your whole body is filled with light. But when your eye is unhealthy, your whole body is filled with darkness. And if the light you think you have is actually darkness, how deep the darkness is. Now think about this. This is calling to question how we see things. Are you seeing things from your own perspective or from a godly perspective? God, it's for you. Are you seeing things in a way that serves you, or are you seeing things in a way that serves God? Because the word says that your eye sets that tone. Verse 24. No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and be enslaved to money, to material things, to titles, to relationships. I can't serve God and continue to put those first. I got to go with God's choice. I don't care if I have to lose friends behind God's choice. I'm cool. I don't care if I have to lose titles or where you all think I should be or where people think you should be. I don't care if I have to lose that. I would rather remain submitted to God and what he is calling me to do. It's not about my choice. It's not my choice. It never was. My choice is this: serving God. That's the only choice I got: serving God. If you see it any other way, you're going to continue to be wrong. Your choice is to serve God. Your choice is to glorify God. Your choice is to be submitted to God in everything we do. We can't serve personal desires and God's purpose at the same time. I need you to understand that. I'm going to close with this right here. Luke 9:23 through 25. Luke 9:23 through 25. I'm done right here. Luke 9:23 through 25. Then he said to the crowd, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must give up your own way. Take up your cross daily. See, this thing about God and that submission to him is a daily process. You don't make the decision on Monday and think that Monday is going to carry. No, baby, you got to make it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, circle back around. Monday, I got to make the decision again. If you try to hang on to your life, if you try to serve those personal desires, if you try to serve that natural man, if you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, if you submit to me, if you throw away those things that you want personally for your service to me, if you throw away what you feel like you have to have, or what you feel like you are entitled to, or what you feel like is due to you, if you throw away those things and you serve me, what was he trying to teach the children of Israel the whole time in the wilderness? Just be dependent on me. That's why he didn't want them to get more manna. He didn't want them to get manna for today and tomorrow and the next day. He was teaching them a principle. Just depend on me daily. I promise you, where would our lives be if we get to that place where we just depend on God daily? God, I'm going to move out the way. I'm going to move out the way. I'm going to move out of the way. It's not about me. It's about you. It's cool to sing the worship songs and say, God, I surrender to you. God, I lay down my life. It's cool to sing it, but are the actions lined up with it? Do the actions coincide with what the words say? Verse 25. Let me finish verse 25. But if you lay down your life for my sake, you will save it. Verse 25. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world, but you are lost or destroyed? What do you benefit? Sure, you got the six-figure job. At what cost? Because you didn't do it God's way. You thought that what you earned was the best because it was what you wanted. But I'm going to tell you what the word says, and I'm going to always stand on the word, because the word also tells me that heaven and earth will pass away, but this will remain. So the word says that my thoughts are not your thoughts. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. So whatever you think of yourself, whatever you think is for you, God said, baby, you ain't even scratched the surface of what I'm trying to do for you or what I've already done. I just need you to walk in submission. But the more you keep bucking the system, the more you keep trying to remain stubborn, the more you keep trying to, this phrase that we said for the culture, I'ma do me. The more you keep trying to do you, the more you are undoing, or the more you are prolonging, because you can't undo it, the more you are prolonging what God has already set up for you. And if you never see it, that's not God's fault that you never see it, because you kept doing you. And doing you got you in situation after situation, and failed marriage after failed marriage, and lost job after lost job, and lemon car after lemon car after lemon car. That's what doing you gets. You cannot sustain on doing you. Listen, man. I apologize. Y'all know I don't know. I apologize for the passion. I'm not fussing. I love God and I love His Word, and like it lights a fire in me, and I try to live my life in such a way that it aligns with what God calls us to do. And I don't know, we all should be as passionate. Let me just say it. We all should carry that same passion for God. There's no way. Y'all know I love Florida. I love the Florida Gators. I'm all about my team. Shout out to them for winning national championship in basketball a couple months ago. I love them. I'm passionate. But there's no way I'm going to let somebody associate me more closely to the Florida Gators than they do my love for God, based on the passion that I have for one and the passion that I don't have for another. There's no way I'm going to be more passionate about God wherever I am than I ever will be for anything else. So I ain't apologizing. I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. Listen, I appreciate you all for taking the time to give me. I'm so over. I don't like to be over 30 minutes. We had 35 minutes for today. So I apologize for the extended time, but I do appreciate you all rocking with me today. And I hope you all have a phenomenal week, a blessed week, an amazing week, a purpose-filled week, because this is the purpose life. So let's walk in it.